Hey guys, welcome back to Homestead Prepping and Survival. So, the topic of today's video is it possible for you, Joe Average homeowner, to build your own off-grid power supply? Now, guys, there's a lot of other channels out there and a lot of other... I follow one guy that does this for a living, and he puts in these very extravagant, huge systems, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 systems that the mega rich people can afford. It is entirely possible for you, as an average person that's prepping and wants to be more sustainable for your needs, to do your own system without spending that kind of money. So I'm going to go through the system that I've got, and I'm going to, this is a second take, I'm going to leave off the details of how I got to this point. If you want to know, I'll tell you about it anytime you ask, but I'm going to leave all that details off to shorten the video some. Guys, I've got 10 solar panels on the roof. One 140 watt panel and 9 100 watt panels, and they're all 12 volt panels. I chose 12 volt because that's what I had knowledge of, and I wanted to be able to pull a vehicle there with jumper cables and hook it to the battery bank and charge it up if that was my last option to get power. That's why I went with it. 24 volt system is much better than what I have. Okay? Infinitely better. Produces better power with lower cost. 48 volt systems are supposedly better now. I have not researched 48. I don't want a 48 volt system. I want 12 volt. 12 volt, you can start small. You can build the system as you go and learn. So I'm going to tell you what I've got. I've got those 10 panels. Those 10 panels are all wired in sets of 4. So I've got the 140 watt panel and a 100 watt panel going into one charge controller. And then I've got 2 more panels going into a second charge controller. And that's 4. That leaves me 6. I've got 3 panels going into a third charge controller, and the last 3 panels going into the fourth charge controller. Charge controllers come in different sizes, just like batteries. You can get a little battery for your lawnmower, and you can get a big battery for your car. They come in different sizes. I've got 30 amp charge controllers. I do not want to produce more power than that charge controller can handle, because it will not pass it through to the batteries. So I don't want to waste anything that I produce. So those panels are feeding through my 4 charge controllers, and those charge controllers all feed to my battery bank. What I currently have out there are 255 amp hour maintenance-free batteries. They are designed for solar systems. They're very expensive batteries. I got a really good deal on them, but the regular retail price on those batteries when I got them was about $730 to $750 a piece. I didn't pay that for them, but I'm just telling you what they sell for. Batteries are going to be one of the largest expenses in an off-grid system. On grid, you don't need a battery bank. You're producing power as the sun shines, and you're feeding it into the grid to help lower your needs and reduce how much you get from the power company. I want off grid, so I need a battery bank. I need somewhere to store the energy that my solar panels are producing. That's what the battery bank's for. So once the batteries are charged and they're holding that power, just like your car, if you crank your car, if it's sitting there without the key in it, it's not using, minimal power out of it. But when you turn the key, it engages the starter that draws high amperage from that battery to crank the engine. Once it cranks, your charging system recharges that battery as you run the car or truck or whatever it is. So here, your charging system is a solar power. So it runs into my battery bank. I've got 5 of those 255 amp hour batteries. They are maintenance-free batteries. They're designed for solar systems. They're expensive, but trust me, I tried the deep cycle batteries. Please do not waste your money on those batteries. They will not last. You're going to spend more per amp hour buying those deep cycle batteries than you will if you get a good battery. The good batteries are going to last you 10 plus years. Those deep cycle batteries are going to last you 3 to 5 years. You're going to spend more for those cheaper batteries than you will the good ones. So, when I first started, I bought a 3,000 watt continuous modified sine wave inverter. Now, some of that may sound like Greek to some of y'all, but that's fine. I'm going to explain it to you. Grid power is pure sine wave. Electricity travels waves through the power wire, right? Pure sine wave controls how much it dips and how much it rises. It's got to stay within the range that it wants it to be. So you've got smooth, trouble-free power. Modified sine wave waves a little bit more. It dips a little more, it spikes a little more, but for the most part, it will produce the power you need at a much less expensive way. Excuse me. Like I said, it's take 2. My throat's dry. I have since determined that I want to go to a pure sine wave inverter. Trust me when I tell you, if you're wanting to run your entire property like I do, you want a pure sine wave inverter. If you're just wanting emergency power to run a refrigerator and freezer and some lights, you know, that stuff, you can get a modified power inverter, modified sine wave, and it will produce the power you need if you get the right size to give you all that. Okay, trust me, it works. I've done it. I've been in my house almost 11 years. 2 months will be 11 years. It works, and it's not that expensive. Don't let people tell you you can't do it. I'm proof. I can't stand it when somebody tells the general population that they can't do this or it's not a viable option. It's too expensive. Can't be done. Bull crap. Watch me do it. Guys, if you just want to run your lights in your refrigerator and freezer, you need to figure out what your load demands are and find out what size inverter you need to get. You can get one. You can get one that'll hook to your vehicle battery that will get you through a short power outage without any problems. I don't want that. I want one that's going to get me through all my power demands, period. Whether it be for 10 hours, 10 days, 10 months, or 10 years. That's my goal. So I want to go with a pure sine wave inverter. Now, here's the deal. Most people know there's 240 volt appliances in the average house, and there's 120 volt appliances in the average house. There are some 3-phase out there. I'm not getting into all that. But most of the stuff that in your house runs on 120 volts. All your lights and receptacles, you know, your bathroom fan, your fan and light above your stove, all of those things, refrigerators, freezers, almost all of them, or the most common ones, run on 120 volts. They just plug into the wall. It's why I run window units here at my house, because I can run this off 120 volt that I can produce cheaply and easily. But if you want to run 240 volts, you've got to have a much better inverter to produce that power. I want to do that. So I'm going to tell you what on my property takes 240 volts. my well, which is my number one priority right now, my dryer, okay, well, dryer, and used to be stove, but I converted to gas. I put a gas stove into it, the electric went out. So those two things have to have 240 volts to run. Dryers are not a necessity. There's nothing wrong with putting up a clothesline, especially when crap's hit the fan. Put up a clothesline, you can hang your clothes up and dry them, and that's what I'm planning on doing. I'm not worried about running a 240 volt dryer, but I need to run my well, and instead of changing the pump to 120 volt, I want to produce that 240 volt power. So the inverters that I've narrowed it down to two. They're going to cost me around $1,000 a piece. Will produce 240 volts of pure sine wave split phase power, which is a true 240 volt system that'll run just like the grid power your entire house. That's what I'm doing. If someone's telling you out there that you can't do it, it's because they can't do it, but you can. And let me tell you how. If you've made it to this 11.5 minute mark, you're interested. So let me tell you how you can do it. Step one, don't spend any money. Don't spend a dime. Step one is to control, reduce your energy needs so you don't have to produce it. If you don't need it, why produce it? Make sense? If you're not going to drive your car for the next week at all, would you bother filling up the gas today? Of course you wouldn't. A lot of us keep their vehicle full. I'm not talking about that. But if you knew you were going out of town, you're going to fill up your car. Okay, well, if you know you're not going, you're not going to do that. So if you reduce your energy needs, you can reduce the amount of energy you need to produce. So if you require less, you can produce less. And if you get it down to where you're comfortable and everything you need on your house or property or whatever it is you're trying to power is at the minimal amount that you need, you can build a system slightly larger than that and produce all your electricity. So start off with reducing your power needs. A lot of people have 240 volt water heater. I do not. When I built this house, I put a 120 volt water heater in. I'm going to take a quick minute to do this, to explain this. If you took a 55-gallon drum and put it on your stove, whether it's, I don't care if you turn on all the electric eyes at once, you fill that 55-gallon drum with water, how long will it take to boil that water? Probably wouldn't boil. Probably wouldn't ever get hot enough to boil. A 240 volt water heater takes a lot of power to heat up your 30, 40, 50-gallon water heater. I don't have one that large. I have a smaller water heater that is 120 volts because I can produce to 120 volts and I don't need to heat up 30, 40, 50 gallons. I have plenty. It takes less time to heat it back up if I run out. So reduce your needs, and therefore you can reduce how much you need to produce, reduce the amount that you need to produce. It's a little tongue twister for me. So start with reducing what you need before you ever spend any money. Once you figure out what your minimal needs are, add about 20% to that. So if you say, okay, I need to produce 1,000 kilowatts, you want to set up a system that's going to produce about 1,200 kilowatts. Add about 20% to it. Start from there and get the inverter the size you need. Get a good pure sine wave. If you're wanting to put out 240 volts, get a pure sine wave split phase inverter. Okay, that's crucial. If it's not split phase, it's not true 240 volts. It's not going to run your 240 volt appliances if it's not split phase. So get the right inverter. Invest in the good batteries because it's going to save you money. I promise you, I've done it. I started with the Walmart batteries. I don't have those anymore. I wasted more money than I'm going to spend in 10 years with the right battery. I wasted way more money on those batteries to get the same time out of what I get out of these batteries. It cost me more money. So don't do that. Get good batteries designed for your system. So get a good inverter, get good batteries, and then start getting your charging system, which will be your solar panels. Whatever voltage you're going with, you can get them one at a time. Just remember, when you add up what you spend on all that, you're going to spend another 20 to 30% on all the wires it's going to take to wire it up and all of that stuff. All the accessories are going to cost you money. Charge controllers and so on. Don't let people tell you you can't do it. It is completely doable. The inverters that I've narrowed it down to the two I was telling you about are going to cost me around $1,000 a piece. And I'm saving up for them. I hope to get them, before crap hits the fan. Those inverters will allow me to produce all my power needs. All of it. But what happened about 4 or 5 years ago, we had a bad hurricane come through. And I'm not at the coast, but we do get a lot of the storm. Lost power here for 5.5 days. I ran my off-grid solar as much as I could, but with the hurricane weather coming through for 8 days, I barely got enough sunshine to even, maintain my batteries, not to mention recharge them from, using too much of it. So I had to use my generator. And it just got to where I'm like, heck with the solar, I'll just run the generator. It cost me a lot of money. Something's biting me. No telling what, but anyway. So get the right stuff. So for 5.5 days, I didn't have power. I ran my generator, but I also used some, my off-grid some of that time. I learned a lot of things. Alright, sorry guys, I had to pause the video for a second. So, you can produce your own power. If you do it right, do your research, learn what your needs are, reduce your needs is the most important thing. If you've got to produce 5,000 kilowatts, it's going to cost you a lot of money. But you can reduce your energy needs first. Save yourself the money, not only on not using power you don't have to have. If you, like I did, spray foam your house, that saves a lot on heating and cooling. Put in a 120 volt water heater. It draws 120 volts, going to use more power per gallon than a larger system. Anything's going to. But if you're using less water, like I am, I'm not having to heat up water I'm never going to use. I'm not having to maintain and keep it warm. So you can reduce your power needs, and therefore you can produce the power that you need. If you just run refrigerators and freezers and lights, window unit, air conditioner, you can do that on a modified power inverter. But if you want to run your whole house, like my goal is, you're going to need a little bit better inverter. You're going to need better batteries and all of that, okay? Don't waste your money. It can be done. I will be glad to help any of y'all that I can. If you email me, my email is in the About Me section on my page, on my channel here. If you're on MeWe, I'm not on Facebook. I call it Fascist Book. I'm not on there. So if you are on MeWe, I'm still on MeWe. I have a group page there, Homestead Prepping and Survival. You are welcome to join that. And if you want to email me or discuss there or in this chat under the videos, comments, I will help as much as I can. But guys, do not let people tell you you cannot do it. My off-grid system will produce all the power I need on my property. And guys, I'm going to tell you, that's quite extensive. It's a lot more than people realize. Yes, I've got a small house, but I've also got an old 10 by 20 building out here that's completely wired with freezers in it and air conditioners. I've got the mini barn that is completely wired with refrigerator and freezer in it and air conditioning that stays heated and cooled year round. I've got what we call the classroom, a building out on my range that I ran power to that's got an air conditioner in it. I can run all of that on my off-grid power if I do it right. The problem is, like when the hurricanes come through and you get 8 days of bad weather, you don't get a lot of sunshine, you need wind power to supplement the solar. Because wind blows at night, and wind blows when the sun's not real, bright in the daytime. You can get power from your wind turbine to help keep your batteries charged in those non-sunshiny days and nights. It's completely doable. You don't have to have a $20, $30, $40, $50,000 system. You can do this. People telling you that you can't just either don't know what they're talking about or they're just flat lying to you, because I've done it. I'm doing it. I know it's possible. Never let someone tell you it can't be done. There are many people out there like myself that are doing it. Some have spent a lot more money on the system than I have. I didn't have 20 or 30,000 to just pay for a whole system right up front. You can build your own system. It can be done without spending mega dollars to do it. Guys, my email is homesteadpreppingandsurvival@yahoo.com. I've got the Homestead Prepping and Survival MeWe group page. Also got the YouTube channel here, Homestead Prepping and Survival. You can comment, whatever you want to do. If you want to talk on the phone, message me. I'll send you my phone number. Send me a letter. Doesn't matter to me. If I can help you, I'll help you. But guys, don't let these people out there tell you it can't be done. It can be done. It can be done rather affordably compared to what these big wigs all across the country that do it for a living are telling you. They're doing it for a living. They've got to make a profit to pay their employees and pay themselves. And they're not doing this to break even. You can do this. And there's people out there that will help you do it. All these off-grid generators that they call them, that are battery banks that charge up and it's got the inverter built in so you can run things. They're great. There are some really, really nice ones out there. That's temporary power. If you want permanent power, you can do this. If you've got running creeks on your property, you can absolutely produce all the electricity you need without a battery bank, because that water's moving. If it's a year-round running water, you can produce power with a water wheel and a generator head being turned by that water wheel, if you've got enough volume of water, of course. You can produce your own power. Don't let people tell you you can't. God didn't put us on this planet to say we can't. He gave us the brains, the ingenuity, and the ability to learn and do things, and we're here to do that, and I'm here to help you. If you're interested in it, you want to do it, it can be done. Guys, remember the two most important things that I always tell you. Jesus Christ loves you, and so do I. Y'all be safe, be prepared, and don't let people tell you you can't do something. If somebody else can do it, you can do it, and it doesn't mean you've got to spend 10 years' salary to do it. I love y'all. Be safe.